All right. So we are here today to talk about increasing independence for our children during this time of distance learning at home and some ideas on how to do that. So I am Jakki Kleinhans, the Education Director at the Montessori School of Bowling Green, and I have with me here today Sue, who's one of our educational consultants at the school, and Cindy, who is our other educational consultant at the school. So I'm going to ask some questions that we might be having as parents on how to help our children at home during this time, and we'll share a bit of insight to hopefully help with some ideas. So our first question we have are, what are some ways that parents can help their children become more independent at home? We'll start with Sue.
Well, first, thank you. And we just want to express our heartfelt empathy to all of our parents and teachers and everyone out there. We know this is a difficult time, and we thought we would just share some Montessori philosophy that really is good at any time. So one of the first things we think about when we're thinking about helping children become more independent is establishing routines for their day. So we would think about, how are your own routines in your home going? What's working for you? What isn't working for you? And at school, routines provide the structure or the rhythm for the day, and they help communicate expectations and help children feel more safe and secure because they know what to expect. So, for example, as soon as any child or student walks into the building, they know where to go. They know where to put their shoes and their coat and their things. They know how to go into their classroom and they're greeted by their teachers, and then they know what's the next thing to do. So, Cindy, would you like to talk a little bit more about the routine for early childhood students?
Yes, thanks, Sue. Again, hi, it's nice to be with you. I want to add my heartfelt empathy for parents at home. I can't imagine what many of you are going through, but I'm sure you're doing great. The routines are so important for any age, like Sue said, but especially for these young children. And I'm talking toddlers through kindergarten, which what I taught the early childhood. It is so important for them to have those routines because they expect that. They look forward to that. And it isn't, I know Miss Sue said structured, but it is a structured day, but yet it's a free type of structure. They do the same thing that Miss Sue was talking about, coming in and being greeted by their teacher. And that is a real important part because they know that their teachers are there for them and that they care for them and they're glad to see them. And they wash their hands and go to work. And that routine does not change. That happens all throughout the school year. So the routines are very important to a child. And I know being home, routines don't always work. Things change from day to day and minute to minute. But the routines, I've always said it makes the children feel safe, which doesn't mean they don't feel safe with you or with the teachers, but it just gives them a reassurance of what's going to happen next, and their expectation of what's going to happen next. And that just makes them feel safe because they know what to expect. And that's why we do the same things and the same routine every single day. And it is very interesting when we have to change a routine. Like, for instance, we have a music program in the morning that we don't go right to work, how it does affect children. And we see that. But they are adaptable. Your children are adaptable. And we see that every day. So we just feel routines are very important for children. And do the best you can. That's all you can do.
And I would add for older children, elementary age and beyond, they also have expectations for their work. And there's certain routines that are in place on how to do your work and how to go about it and what's expected. And those routines don't really change either. And it's just an expansion of what they've done in early childhood. So I know the teachers have done a wonderful job with the distance learning, posting things. And I think that would also make the children feel comfortable and safe, knowing that even in this time, there are some expectations on the schoolwork that you're doing.
Yeah, I think those are great points. And I'll add, so I have a child at home doing distance learning as well and working from home, which I know many parents are in that boat of trying to juggle not only helping their child learn, but trying to continue their job and adjusting to all the changes of how to learn to work from home. So it's a challenge for everyone, and I will echo that I think routines are going to be beneficial for us as the adults as well. Not only for the kids, but to keep ourselves in the pattern. And I love that idea of keeping it flexible, but having that structure. So I know my mistake I've made before is trying to put in too much of a routine or too much of a schedule, too limited. Saying, we're going to work on math at this time, and we're going to work on reading at this time, and I'm going to have lunch at exactly this time. And that may work for some families at some ages, but probably loosening it up a little bit to be, we're going to have our independent work time in the morning. We're going to plan together first, then we're going to go work separately, setting clear expectations of if you need help, am I available? Do you need to wait? Just providing some of those structures that, again, in the classroom, we have very explicit routines around that have been practiced day by day for the entire year. And for many students, multiple years, because in that same classroom, those routines will carry over each year. So things that seem very simple that we won't think of until they come up, like asking for help. Is it okay for me to move on to my next work? Do I need to get it checked or not? What do I do if I get stuck? What do I do if I'm having big feelings and I don't know what to do? So trying to think ahead and problem solve and work through those as we go. Anything else that you two would like to add on that idea of helping the children become more independent at home, or should we move into our next question?
Well, I just wanted to add something. Parents have asked me in the past, what can I do to help make my child, or to help my child become more independent? And I always say, let them do things on their own. We want to try to do things for our children because we're nurturing people. But these children, starting at toddlers, can do things on their own. And when they do, they get a sense of independence within themselves. And like, I can do it. And my mom or dad see that I can do it. And they'll let me do it. And some suggestions I came up with was for independence just around the house, let them pick out their own clothes the night before. Give them two choices. They love to pick out their own clothes. And we've seen some really interesting outfits with our young children, but it's okay. We know they dress themselves. Let them help around the house with setting the table. Young children love to do that. And then you can throw in math there. You can have them count how many they need to put out. So you're giving them practical life, but yet they're doing math. Help you fold laundry. Our children in the early childhood and toddler are shown how to fold laundry, towels especially, and match socks, and they love it. And then another one I thought of, which many of you I know do, is let them cook with you. They love to use measuring cups, and they love to pour, and they love to spoon. So they don't have to make the whole cake, but have them put in a glass of milk that needs to be put in the puddings, something simple that they feel included and independent and being able to do for themselves. And they really feel good about themselves when they do that. So I just wanted to add some suggestions.
Perfect. Well, as we transition into our next question, I think we've talked about it a little bit, but go a little deeper into some ways that we can make our homes, which are our environments, more supportive of the child's independence.
Well, I agree with everything that Cindy said. And I would also add that sometimes, as far as toys go for our children, they have too many choices. And to reduce some of that is beneficial to everybody. For example, if you think, I always use the example that a few years ago, I went into Myers and I wanted to buy apples. And it was in the fall during apple season. And I stood in the aisle and looked at the red apples and the green apples and the organic and the locally grown and all the different varieties. And I was overwhelmed. And I think that happens to our children when there are so many things for them to choose from that they can't make a choice. Mm-hmm. So part of setting up the environment for them, besides having them help with all the chores and the everyday practical life, is also to reduce the amount of clutter or the toys in their space. And think about the classrooms where there's a shelf where there's things set out very simply. And you may not be able to do that necessarily exactly in your home, but even if you remove some things and put them in a box to rotate at another time, mm-hmm. just reducing the amount that's there can help make children feel like, oh, I can be independent. I can make some choices. I can build with my Legos, and then I can put it away, and then I can get out my art materials and do that. So really helping to set up the space for your children at home too, I think is really important.
Well, that's about what I was going to say too, Miss Sue, but because it goes for all ages of child. The same is important. And I was going to suggest also some type of shelf or some special place to put their toys or activities or work, like we call it at school, away, and to try really hard to have them put something away first that they have out before they get something else out, because that is what they do at school. So they're used to that. And then that does relieve some of the clutter that's around the house. But I was thinking about another thing for independence, but yet it's for the environment, is to set something up for them that they can be independent, fixing their own snack. And that is something that, maybe people put out a bowl of granola bars or apples or something for them to have. But to have a place where they know they can eat their snack, they know where to go get it. You don't have to have, 10 things out for them to choose from. Give them a couple choices, just like they make in the classroom their choice to have their snack, and just have it, maybe even a special plate they use for snack, and take it to a special place to eat. I think that helps with their whole routine, and another way to gain independence. And it's one less thing you have to do for them, mm-hmm. and they can do it because they do it every day at school by themselves. But I think the idea of having too many things out is really, really important and very valuable, because just I can picture Miss Sue looking at all those apples and just being overwhelmed. And that is how a child feels. And not to revert, but that's why we in the classroom start this classroom year with shelves turned around, and they're not all turned around with work on them, because if your child walked in there the first day, they would be overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And that may be some of the things your children may feel overwhelmed with all of the things they can choose from. So I just wanted to add that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I'll share a piece of Montessori philosophy that I think many people are aware of, but many people have not seen before. And it's this idea of a triangle. So instead of a traditional model of the teacher providing the knowledge to the students,
Right.
kind of a top-down model, in Montessori, we really view it as an equal triangle. So each part of the triangle influences and impacts and supports the other. And those corners are the child, the adult, and the environment. And the adult and the environment work so closely together, and we're kind of almost intertwined in so many ways because the adult is preparing the environment.
Right.
And so in the classroom, the adult's typically the teacher. At home, the adult is the parent. And that's pretty interchangeable, as far as how you can work to support it. But in this time of distance learning, that adult is really, you're going to be the parent directly there with your students, but definitely reach out to your classroom teachers. They're right there along with you, even if they're not physically with you, emotionally and mentally. They're there to help you navigate this and provide suggestions and feedback and ways to do these things we're suggesting. Because again, it might look a little bit different of how to support that independence and structure that environment for a toddler versus a middle schooler, of course.
Right.
But the idea stays the same behind it. So, like Cindy said, simple things that you can build into their day that provide them some choice, where they're making a choice, they have some independence with that, but they're successful with it. And that's a delicate balance between giving them enough choice but not too much. But our end goal is for them to be successful and to feel that success, because that's going to help them continue on to the next step. So if we see that they're not successful, they can't make that choice, then we know, oh, that didn't work. That's okay. We'll try something different next time.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Well, our next topic is kind of looking ahead to what's next. So do you want to add anything else before we look ahead to what's next after we prepare the environment?
I think we're ready to move on.
Perfect. So now that the environment's prepared, what do we do next? What are our looking ahead?
Well, I think building on what you had said, Jakki, it's going to look a little bit different for the age or the developmental place of each child, but the whole idea is the same. So I think as a parent, you start, and as a teacher, you start thinking, what in our routine or what is working well, and what do I want to work with my child on? So Cindy mentioned helping a child get dressed at a younger age. At an older age, it might be helping them learn how to do their own laundry, or use the microwave or oven safely, so that if they want to bake a cake and they're, a little bit older and capable of that, they know how to do those things safely. So you have to think through what the task is, and then think through all of the steps you would need to know to be able to complete that task successfully. Just a common example might be brushing your teeth. When they're very little, we start out, okay, you get your toothbrush and you put the toothpaste on the brush, and you have to go up, all the steps of toothbrushing. And that's the same thing you have to think of. I want to teach my child how to make their own sandwich for lunch. What are they going to need to get out? What are they going to need to make the sandwich? And then what are they going to need to do to clean up and make sure that the environment is back the way you'd like it to be? So it's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of prep ahead of time. And then you have to show the child each step. And if you watch some of the distant learning videos, you'll see the teachers use very clear language. They go slow. They repeat things as necessary, but they don't use a lot of extraneous language or movements. They really try to keep the focus on whatever it is they're trying to show. So that's the same thing that would be helpful to a parent at home. Show what the task is, show all the steps, and then allow the child to do it. And you might need to reteach it. You can just watch and say, oh, they didn't get that part. The the peanut butter jar was left out on the counter and there was peanut butter all over the counter. Okay, I'll have to teach them how to clean up a little bit better. And it's going to take patience. It's going to take time. But ultimately, the more you help them and model for them what to do, they're going to be able to get it. And eventually, they'll be able to do that totally independently. And they'll be prepared for lots of things. And if we think about it, one of our goals as parents is to help our children, once they're 18 and they're ready to go off to college or to get a job, that they know how to live in the world. And that they have that confidence and that understanding. And we want to parent with the end in mind, even though right now it probably seems very far away. But, we want to give them the skills that they need to go on into the world. So, Cindy, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, that explains it very well, Miss Sue. I think it's important. One of the things is really important is the age of the child. Talking about how many steps it is to complete the task. Obviously, with the younger the child is, the less steps, or something that isn't as difficult as making a peanut butter sandwich at age 3. They can try, because we do have in the classroom cutting bread and spreading crackers, so they can try. But I think if you want to start small and with, maybe just 2 or 3 steps as opposed to 6 or 7 is more advantageous to a younger child. I think of in the classroom, pouring water. There's so many steps that we take in the classroom to prepare them to pour water from one container to another. We just don't give them a pitcher and pour water. They will not be successful, and that's our goal, is for them to be successful. We start with dry pouring, and I'm thinking of, they help you make a cake. They could pour the powder of the pudding mix in your bowl instead of starting with the milk, and build it up to that, because we go from pouring dry ingredients to pouring in just from one container to another, to pouring water into different containers before we let them actually pour their own glass of water for snack. I mean, it's not like we start that day one. So there's a lot of steps involved, and I don't think any, just like Ms. Sue said, pick a task that you'd like them to work on, or that you see, as parents, you see or observe something that they may need to work on. I mean, we all have things to work on, but we can see it, and just start there and start small and say, today we're going to learn how to sweep with a broom. Just start small and in very tiny steps. And if a child, sometimes the younger children get frustrated, and just stop and just say, well, we'll try it again later, or we'll try it again tomorrow. I think that's part of the being flexible with the child, and to be able to follow that child, that no, they weren't really ready for that, so let's think of something else tomorrow. I just want parents to know that they're doing a wonderful job at home. Knowing our parents, I know you are, and you love your children and you want what's best for them, but just I say work on your practical life. Everyday living, like Miss Sue said, we're preparing our children for life, and we sometimes think we have to work on the academics all the time with our children, and but the everyday life and everyday living, practical life, is even more valuable. We feel, I think we all feel that. So just give yourselves a break. I'm talking to parents, and I'm hearing parents, and I'm hearing teachers, and everybody's in the same boat. I'm not teaching anymore, but I'm stuck at home. And it's getting off the subject, but it just we're very hard on ourselves, and that's human nature. But just love your kids, which you do, and let them lead you.
Mhm.
Good at that. Sorry, I got a little bit off topic there, Jakki, but you know me.
No apologies. I think that's a great point, and I was going to echo a little bit of my own experience again,
Yeah.
parenting during this time and working during this time and all of it. And I mean, I think it's important to remember that even those of us who know this, who do this, and you know,
Mhm.
it's part of what we do and what we know and what we're trained in. That doesn't make it easy and second nature either. We
Right.
still have to
Right.
work at it. It's hard.
Yeah.
And finding those ways for helping ourselves first. I think that's such an important piece that we can easily forget. Excuse me, because like you said, we're all going through this. And remembering that our big emotions that we're having, our children are having just as much or more, or, you know,
Mhm.
they're having those big emotions too. And it's probably something that we thankfully have not had to worked through before, but it's new for ourselves and for our kids. So finding those ways to give ourselves grace, to step out of that moment if we're feeling heated, because if our child is frustrated or we're frustrated, we're not going to learn. We're not going to move forward in that moment. We're going to get stuck. So let's take a break, like Cindy said. Oh, we'll try it again later. I think I love that idea, like you said, of as we help them towards independence, you know, there's a lot of pieces that we're going to have to do step by step and guided with them as they're moving and practicing,
Mhm.
and we're reteaching when they need it, or we're noticing that they're not ready and we're going to back it up and do something else.
Mhm.
Or you know, oh, they breezed through that, they must have learned that in the classroom and that stuck and great. um,
Mhm.
a mom mistake that I made was, oh gosh, you knew how to do all this stuff in the classroom, you'll know how to do it at home.
Mhm.
Didn't equate for my child, and that's okay. Got frustrated the first time. I'm like, why can't she do this? I know she can, but that's not helpful. So I stopped and I thought, I'm like, well, she can't do it for whatever reason. So I'm going to
Mhm.
get curious and I'm going to think about, you know, how can I help her? And then we can move forward from there. But I think that's a big takeaway too, that, like you said, practical life is the basis of everything. So practical life, everyday living skills, hobbies, routines, our self care, and our care of our environment is what we come back to in times of crisis, whether it's adults or kids. It's really grounding. Um, it gives us a sense of accomplishment. We're able to do something. So if you're someone who cleans when you get nervous or anxious about something because it's something you can control and you can do it and you can see the end results, you know, our kids feel that same way. So for ourselves too, grounding ourselves in that practical work, practical life is
Mhm.
just going to be helpful and get us to that point where we can move forward with whatever else it is that we want to do. Um, and also, like you said, it's so integrated that it's not separate from academics either.
Mhm.
There's so much academic learning and real life learning, applied learning happening during that time.
Mhm.
So
Definitely.
I think that takeaway from today is, you know, helping structure that environment, looking back to the everyday living skills and the practical life skills, and starting there first is where we can really make an impact. Well, any concluding, closing thoughts? Anything else we want to add today to this?
Um, I was just going to add, I appreciate everything you've both said. And I think what we've been talking about in a lot of ways is Montessori's concept of following the child,
Mhm.
helping see where the child is and promoting and encouraging their growth from where they are. And another aspect of Montessori philosophy is grace and courtesy, which we've also been talking about.
Mhm.
That if we can give each other grace and remember our please and thank yous and embrace the joy amidst the sorrow, then I think we're doing well. And
Mhm.
again, I just appreciate all the parents and all the teachers and all those out there on the front lines. And we just send our best to all of you and thank you for your work that you're doing.
Absolutely. I echo that as well. Thank you, Sue, for putting those words together for us.
And I just want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak with you today. It's always good to connect, and remember to connect with each other. Call another parent and say, "Are you having this going on?" It cannot be easy, and I think we understand that, and we realize that this isn't easy for anybody. And I want to thank you, parents, and I want to thank the teachers for all the work they've done, and our administration for what they're doing all these days, working for our school and for the betterment of our school. And I think one thing that I've been reading is that we cannot forget about the children and what they're going through. Here I tear up because they're going through a lot. Their world has been turned upside down, and some people think it doesn't affect these children, but it really does. If they're having a bad day, you don't know why. Maybe it's because they miss playing with their friend Johnny, or they miss their teacher, or so just remember that they need grace and the courtesy to their feelings too. And I'm sorry, but everybody knows Miss Cindy tears up. So I just think it's very important to remember that, and just keep on doing what you're doing, because you're doing great. And I'm sorry, I got upset, but that's me. It's my passion. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, and this is our first video that we've recorded for parent education during this time of distance learning that we wanted to reach out and share. So if there are questions that people have specifically or generally, please share those with us by email, or if this is on social media, you want to post it there, feel free. And just reach out and know that we're looking for ways that we can help support you during this, because parent education is more helpful now than ever because you're in the thick of it. So
Yep.
we want to be there to help in whatever ways you're finding most necessary. So thank you all. Thank you for joining us today to talk about this. Thank you for watching this video, and hopefully we will see each other again soon.